This program is brought to you by the Genesis Communications Network, a world leader in talk radio since 1998. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Broadcasting and streaming live all across America. This is Home Talk USA with Michael King, where we will discuss topics pertaining to your home with industry-leading experts. Michael King is a licensed general contractor with more than 30 years of experience in home improvements and the author of Contracting with the King. Join us this hour for our segment Invent America with your co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton. Discover what's next in the home improvement industry and explore new products and innovations. Or if you have that next great big idea, learn what it takes to bring your invention to the world. As Michael King and Rita Crompton talk to America's inventors and innovators. Remember, the America of tomorrow is being invented today. We invite you to visit us at HomeTalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, we proudly present Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country, Home Talk USA, with your host, the Cajun contractor, Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Yeah, hey, welcome. That's right. This is the Invent America show on the Home Talk USA radio network of, family. And we want to welcome all of you at the top of the hour right here. We are streaming on the Genesis Communication Radio Network at GCNlive.com. Now I'd like to welcome my co-host and sidekick. They call her the Inventor Lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton. Rita, how you doing?
I am fine. Oh, my goodness. It's lovely here today. It's nice to be outside and enjoying some of this great weather before I know the freeze is coming. So anyway, how are you today?
I'm hanging in, and it's a little overcast and rainy down in South Louisiana in Bayou Country, but we looks like it's going to be turning a little chilly down here. So, but Rita, before we get into this week's show, they've had some changes in the, as you know, we've been broadcasting to go to the National Hardware Show in Las Vegas. That has changed, and I know you're going to be putting up that information on the website, and you're going to be doing another. We're going to be going somewhere else, right? You have all the final details for that, right? Quick.
I do. We are so excited because, it's growing. We are taking another step forward for our inventor family. We are going to ASD Market Week, which covers everything from what you would find at the National Hardware Show, which we consider like, the Home Depot, to a Target, Walmart, everything from, the traditional tools and electrical and plumbing and grilling that we always would have, to now the tools, the electrical, plumbing, and baby products and sporting goods and, anything and everything that you would find now at your big box store. So we are really excited. It'll be the same thing, 600 square feet. Inventors that have been on the radio show looking for licensing, and now they actually have a section for licensing, which is really exciting. But it opens up the doors for so many of our inventors to join us. And so we're real excited. It's in March. It's March 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, so an extra day, much larger show. And, we are just really excited to be able to bring this to our audience, and we'll be broadcasting from the floor like we always used to do, but bigger, better, and, more outreach. It's business to business, so just like before, wholesalers coming in, looking for new products, and being able to say, oh, yeah, I'd like to order, 24 of these. I'd like to order, this for the next season. Wow. And so it really gives us a bigger outreach and all of our inventors as well. So we're looking forward to it.
And it's a couple weeks before the National Hardware Show, right?
Right. Same. It's going to be March 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, so 2 weeks earlier. Same location, Las Vegas Convention Center. We will be on the general merchandise area, so we'll be on the main floor of South Hall. The show is actually the South Hall, main floor, top floor, and Central Hall, so it is huge.
Wow, gotcha. All right, then. Well, let's start the show a little bit. And as we get close, we're going to give some more details, right?
Right. We will have, the booth space location. We will be starting to list the products on the Invent America. That was one of the reasons we did a new Invent America website. So invent-america.com, the products that we're taking will be listed there. So if you're out there and you're thinking, holy cow, I should be going to this show, get in touch with me because we are, looking at those products that we can take, show off, help inventors, be able to get their message out. And we have had so many more people contact us since we've started putting this out. It's so exciting. So I'm excited.
So
you can tell I'm excited.
Well, Rita, what are we going to talk about this week?
We are talking about how important it is in a licensing agreement to maintain control of the intellectual property. And so a lot of inventors, they'll come to me and they'll say, well, I was told. And it's like, just because you were told that, does it really make sense? And they go, well, no. And I said, well, then it's probably not the right idea. And so when they say, I was told that I could let a licensee file my intellectual property. No. The intellectual property is the only thing that gives you leverage and to hold them accountable. If you assign it away, then you lose. Yep. So we're going to talk today to a couple of inventors that went through this experience, and, it's really important for our inventors. You can tell I'm excited today. Our inventors to maintain control of that leverage, and I think a lot of inventors don't realize that the intellectual property system in one shape or another has been around in this country since the 1790s. So a long time. And it's been around in Europe since the 1400s.
And the only one that don't really have to worry about that is China because they steal it all. So they don't care. They have no intellectual property anyway. So they're going to just steal it.
Well, they have a system out there, and that's why a lot of our inventors do file there, because if you file there, they enforce it there. But we've done those topics. Today we're really talking about how important it is you maintain control. You file it. You maintain control of it, and that way then, yes, the licensee will generally fight when there's an infringement on your intellectual property because they put the money in developing the product. But you still maintain control of it, and that is the one thing. It's like they do the manufacturing, they do the marketing, and do everything. You keep control of your intellectual property.
Why do you think that is? They just don't know the process because, the average inventor is not really, Well,
the average inventor isn't always aware. They get excited about their product. They don't understand, where they can be victimized. And that's our job. It's our job to say, no, this is the right way to do it. And when I talk to them and they really start to think about it, it makes sense. Because if you don't maintain the intellectual property, that's your leverage. That's what you say, this is mine. The USPTO said, this is mine, and I get to control it. If you sign it away, they control it. And, yes, if you still get your name on it, and this is where the problem is when it comes to licensing. Your name is still on it as the inventor, but somebody else has started paying the bills. That gives them leverage over you. So if the agreement goes south and you have to pull it back, but they've got leverage instead of you.
That's right. Well, Rita, there's the music. Rita, what time it is right now when you hear the music?
It is time to go and pay some bills.
I love it. You got to pay them bills. Got to stay on the air. But, hey, we're going to come back. Don't go nowhere. We have some guests, some topics, some inventors. We have, we introduce new products. Not only that, that's the blueprint to get your products to market. So it's kind of a really a good thing. So stay tuned right here on the Home Talk USA radio program, streaming live on the Genesis Communication Radio Network. This is the Invent America part of the Home Talk USA radio show right here. Y'all stay tuned. Me and Rita, the Inventor Lady, will be right back. Yeah.
Talk USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HomeTalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, back to Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country. Home Talk USA with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
All right. Welcome back. This is the Invent America show, along with my co-host, the Inventor Lady herself, Rita Crompton. Rita, we got a great show. We got to jump right into it. We're running way behind schedule. Who's our first guest?
Our first guest today is Eric Hassfurther. He is a Dallas-based entrepreneur who has founded, funded, and grown companies, everything from real estate and sports products to weather technology. And he likes to get in on the ground floor with, a new entrepreneur and see how high they can fly. So, Eric, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure because you've got one of those cool things Inflategate would have never happened if they'd had your tool. So tell us a little bit about Innoflate Smart Inflation Needle.
Yeah. Let's talk basketball specifically when we're talking about sports here with Innoflate as an example. So, many people who are avid basketball players, whether youth or adults, you practice so that you understand exactly how a ball feels in your hands, how it bounces off the backboard, bounces off the floor. You practice so that you ultimately become familiar and can repeat the things you want to do. But one of the things that's not very exact about basketball or a lot of sports is the inflation of a ball. We've all got these old Nike pumps with the little metal needles, and we inflate the ball, we kind of squeeze it, bounce it, say, yeah, that feels about right. But the reality is that just a half PSI change in ball pressure can dramatically change how that ball bounces or how it feels in your hand or bounces off the backboard or, different sport, how it comes off your foot. And so we're all pretty inexact about that. So, we'll pay $200 for a pair of basketball sneakers that really don't help you get the ball through the hoop at all, yet we're paying 50 cents for these old inflation needles. And so a friend of mine, Graham Roach, genius inventor, he invented the Innoflate Smart Inflation Needle. So when you just attach it to the end of your pump, and when you're inflating a basketball, it whistles when you get to the right PSI and basically stops inflating the ball. So you just pump till you hear the whistle, pull it out, and now you know that you're playing with the exact 8 PSI pressure that the NBA recommends for all basketballs. And so the invention certainly applies across all sports, but we started with basketball.
Well, and when I went to your website and I actually saw the way you guys had laid it out, it's like, all right, I got it right away, and I understand the issue and how easy the solution was. So the website, anybody out there who wants to see exactly what Eric is talking about, www.innoflate, INNOFLATE.com. Fascinating. So what we're talking about today, Eric, and the conversation I had with you really kind of solidified the need for this conversation, was that you had a licensing deal in place. Nobody put 2020 pandemic into their business plan for 2020. What happened?
Yeah, so our plan all along, or a hope all along for this product, was to get it in the hands of one of the national sporting good manufacturers that already had distribution everywhere. And so about 2018, we started running down that road, and by 2019, we were engaged with one of the largest sporting good manufacturers in the world, ones that have distribution into all the major retailers. We thought everything was exactly as we hoped, and it really was. It was going really well with them as we worked through the terms of the agreement. As after the agreement, we then started working with their manufacturing team on figuring out how they were going to mass manufacture these. And then the pandemic hit, right? And that just kind of put everything on pause for a little bit. And we said, hey, this will be, we all thought it'd be a few months at first. But really, probably 9 months or so later, we picked things back up. Well, in that 9 months, one of the senior level management folks who we'd been working with, he left the company and went to do something else with his career. So we were handed off to another relationship in the company. And he was great, and we kept moving forward. He wasn't quite a senior, but kept moving forward. And then, as kind of the economic uncertainty coming out of COVID hit, as people were looking towards what's coming in the future, the sporting good manufacturer, they were owned by a parent company who was owned by a parent company who was owned by a conglomerate, and that conglomerate ended up putting a freeze on all capital expenditures. And so this product was going to be injection molded, and injection molds aren't cheap. They can run $10,000 to $50,000 depending on what you're doing. And they were unable to get past that freeze. They couldn't get through the red tape that kind of the parents company put in place. And eventually they said, hey, we're not sure we're going to be able to move forward with this in the time frame that we laid out in the licensing agreement. And so we decided to get released from that agreement, and not what we'd all hoped. We were really encouraged and really excited and glad the product was validated in terms of interest from a major sporting goods company, but we're back to square one a little bit right now.
Yeah. Now, the good thing for you guys was that you kept control of your intellectual property through all of this. And I get a lot of inventors who will say, oh, I'm going to assign my intellectual property to the licensee. Tell our listeners why it was so critical for you guys that you never did that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very bottom line, had we done that, we would have ended up 3 years later without the ability or the value of our patent if it was still sitting in someone else's office in terms of the actual patent itself and assigning it elsewhere. So it was important to us to maintain all the control we could have over the intellectual property itself. And that's really twofold. One, it was the patent as it stands, and two, it was any derivatives that come out of that patent. So, we had initially 3D printed these, and so when we were working with this major sporting goods manufacturer, we had to switch it to an injection mold, which means we redesigned it in tandem with them and some of their industrial designers. And it was important to us that in the licensing agreement we had with them, any new changes to the product, derivatives of the product, regardless of where the idea comes from, that intellectual property resided with us. And so our agreement was real clear on that, and I was thankful it was, because I think we ended up in an even better place with the product. And then the patent itself is still ours. They just had an exclusive license to it for a time period with some performance clauses.
All right. Well, Eric, thank you so much. This is valuable information for our inventors, because it's exactly what I keep telling them. And we are going to go. We hear that music playing. It means we have got to go pay some bills. And we want to thank our sponsors for this show. CAD Design Info with Scott Farsi. He does those early stage prototypes that Eric was talking about. And we have got now our product Quick Start, who does the more advanced manufacturing. So anyway, thanks, everybody. Stick with us. We've got another inventor to share his story about licensing. Eric, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HometalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HometalkUSA.com. And now, back to Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country, Home Talk USA, with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Hi, everybody. everybody. We want to be so grateful that we have a home with Home Talk USA, and we're able to talk to all of the American inventors out there who are just getting started or are in the process. And if you are out there and you've got questions, you need some help, please give me a call. We have got wonderful service providers. Some of them are the sponsors of this show, and we have worked with them for years. Kicker Design is one of them, Product Quick Start, and Scott Tarsi with CAD drawings. He is going to be able to help you with that early stage prototype. And my next guest is Mel Sturr. He has been working with his daughter. She has a chronic illness that has required her to have a stoma or a feeding tube for about the last 8 years. And the reaction then has caused a serious irritation to her skin. Well, being a determined young woman, she went to college, became a chemist, and she found a cure for her own problem. But then, you go through the intellectual property stages and you realize, all right, here's the next step. Mel, tell us a little bit about Jasmine's story and how you've played a role as her dad.
Well, sure. So Rita did a great job of explaining the situation. And it was really just a trial and error, just trying to solve her own problem. She was working on this solution and realized that this was working. Talked to her and said, look, if this works for you, it's going to work for a lot of other people. And so that was sort of the spark of going down this road of getting a patent, because that was the next step. We were all new to this, so there's a lot of learning along the process. We ran into Rita along the way, which was great, because going from an idea to a patent, then trying to find a company to license it that can be daunting. But it all works. But it comes from the idea that you have a good product that people will need and want.
It does. I mean, when you guys first talked to me, and she told me what was going on, and you guys explained it, it's like, to me, this is a game changer. This is one of those products that makes life better for, the different people out there. And the cool thing is that the company that ended up licensing it, they're the ones that make the product, the stoma, and they say, we've known this is a problem, and we could never solve it. So, they understood it. It's wonderful when the different people, see what's going on, and the doctors and the nurses who tested this product, the other patients who tested it for you guys, they were just absolutely blown away.
Yeah, no, it's quality of life, and it comes from a lived experience solution, and those are the two best. The best combination.
Yeah, it really does. Now, the company that went ahead and did the agreed to the licensing agreement, they were really wonderful to deal with, and these are some of the things that that we look for. And so, tell us what happened when we were negotiating the deal. I was a licensing agent, so I know what was going on, but I want them to hear from you what was going on.
Sure. So first we had to vet each other, right? So nobody's going to come in and say, we're just going to do this, sort of sight unseen. So that took a little bit of time, but was very, very fruitful. They asked them some good, tough questions, and we sent it off to them. The advantage of working with Rita on this is that the licensing process was sort of controlled, and we initiated the contract, which I thought was a big deal, rather than the other way around. So we were able to put it in the terms that we needed, but also protected them. It was a win-win scenario. So that was really important, in the process.
It wasn't in those early. We always look at it as the letter of intent, kind of those first 6 bullet points. And if we can't agree on those, it's silly to do a contract. And in there, they wanted to read what was filed, the utility or the non-provisional patent application. That's kind of the car they're taking for the test drive. Mm-hmm. And then in the agreement, it was great that they asked us to provide them with the agreement, because when we're presenting it, we know what's in it. When the company, the licensee, presents it, you got to read it like it's, a new best-selling murder mystery and make sure that everything lines up right. But one of the things it allowed us to do is to make sure that in there we maintain, you and Jasmine maintain all control of the intellectual property. So if for some reason this deal didn't work out, you don't have to go through the tug of war to get back control of your intellectual property.
Correct. And you put that in there, so that was very, very important.
And because there are things that happen. It's just like when Eric was talking and he said, pandemic. Well, nobody put that in their business plan. Somebody quits. Somebody doesn't like the product. Somebody else goes back through some records, and, they want to go back and say, oh, well, we already were working on something like this. And so maintaining that control, that leverage over the intellectual property, and sometimes they make changes, but when we put in the agreement that anything dealing with Stoma Saver is your intellectual property to control. Mm-hmm. And that is really critical then to your leverage.
Right. So, and go ahead.
I was just going to say, so, you've got a launch coming up now in a few months. Tell our inventors this is so exciting. It's one thing you get through all these steps, but holy cow, we got a launch coming. So tell our inventors about kind of the time frame and where they plan to launch the product.
So we're still dealing with the FDA approval. But and they've hired, again, this is great, because they're coordinating the consultant for the regulations. But once that's done, we have a show coming up in Tampa in the first week of March, and we're ready to go. This is going to be great.
All right. It's so exciting. We'll keep everybody informed. We'll let everybody know what's going on. Anyway, we're off to pay some bills. Mel, thank you so much, and give Jasmine our best for us.
You bet. Thank you.
USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HometalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HometalkUSA.com. And now, back to Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country. Home Talk USA with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking with us today, because we're talking about a critical issue of intellectual property and maintaining control. You never give away control of your intellectual property, because it is where you get your leverage. And right now I've got on with me Michael Miller, a good friend, known him for a long, long time, and he has had all kinds of experience with inventors and intellectual property. So, Michael, thank you so much for being on with us today. Tell our listeners what you do.
Oh, thank you very much, Rita. Well, what I do right now is I'm actually a consultant for both companies and also inventors who have basically multiple products that they're looking at getting into the market, and I help them prioritize those inventions. And I also help companies that are looking for new innovative products. I consult with them to help them connect with inventors so that they can get new products in.
So and we've known each other for a long, long time. What, going on 15 years now?
Oh, yeah, easily.
And so I know that you've had good, bad, and ugly experiences with intellectual property. And inventors, it's so critical that they maintain control of their intellectual property and keep it up. All right. So from your point of view, tell our listeners why that's so important.
Well, as you just pointed out, it really is your control. It's your idea. It's your property. And it's really important that that is what you're using to monetize your invention. So people are, whenever you go into an agreement with the company to get hopefully royalties for a product that they're selling for you, or you're selling the product yourself, it's very important that intellectual property is being maintained properly so that you can get that revenue in. I mean, that's why, all of us are inventing these products is so that we can monetize them.
And I know there's all kinds of things going on with the Patent Office, the USPTO, and that tug of war that's been going on as far as, how good it is and what's happening and all the politics that go into it. But the bottom line is still patents and trademarks and copyrights. That intellectual property has been around for centuries.
Well, it's the only thing, whenever you go to sign an agreement with anyone, if you're signing an agreement with the manufacturer, or if you're signing an agreement with a company that you're licensing your product to, what you are actually licensing is that intellectual property. It's very hard to license something that just says, oh, I have this great idea. That's right. Really, really hard to license.
It is. People always tell me, it's like, I've got an idea. Can we sell it? And it's like, it doesn't matter how cute your belly button is. I can't sell it.
Exactly. That is exactly correct.
And so, it always goes back to, great ideas. And, sometimes inventors will tell me, it's like, well, I don't think I'm really an inventor because it's really an easy, simple idea. And it's like, all right, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be an inventor. All you got to have is something new and novel. And, can we get intellectual property or not?
Absolutely. And, the simple ideas are some of the ones that sell the best and
exactly.
also sell for a very, very long time, which is great.
We've got a gentleman who's got a new hammer and is like, oh, my God, I love hammers. But, that's just me. So, we're going to ASD Market Week, and he has been working so hard on getting it's the handle. It's the handle that's different. And so, some of those products out there, you're right, it's the simple new way it's being made. It's a simple new way it's being manufactured. And that's one of the other things that we look at is like, all right, you might not be able to get the patent on the product, but if you've got a new way of making it, sometimes that's where the intellectual property is.
Absolutely. I mean, I had an inventor that I worked with for a lot of years who has a pry bar. And from that pry bar has now been 8 other products that came off of that product, off of that initial one. And it's a pry bar. But pry bars hadn't been changed for years, and he came up with a really innovative way of moving forward with that.
Yeah, it's inventors out there just absolutely amaze me, and I'm blown away all the time at some of these, new ideas and the way we can do things better, more economically viable, more, environmentally friendly. Our consumers drive the demand, and our inventors step up to the plate.
Absolutely, and the reality is as new materials come out, as new different types of construction materials are out in the marketplace, all of those things lead to the need for new innovation in all of these different categories all the time.
It's amazing. And I want to thank you so much for being one of our industry experts and for joining us today, because your perspective on this is so valuable to our inventors out there. So I look forward to seeing you at ASD Market Week, and I look forward to having you back on the show as many times as I can get you. Thank you so much.
No problem whatsoever. Thank you for having me on.
So, all right, everybody, we're going to run off and pay some more bills. Thank you, GCN Network, for making this our home.
Welcome back to Home Talk USA with Michael King. Do you have questions about your next home improvement project or home repairs? Now you can chat with verified home repair and home improvement experts in just minutes. Get the help you need by visiting HomeTalkUSA.com. One of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, back to Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country, Home Talk USA, with your host, the Cajun contractor Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. And I know that some of you are going out there and looking at that website because it keeps coming up higher and higher when you go out there on a Google search. So invent-america.com or inventamerica.info. Either one will get you to our website. You can follow us with some of our other podcasts, see what's out there. And if you've got questions or you know someone who is in the inventing process, join us at the Inventor Roundtable meetings. It's kind of our call-in version of the show. You can ask questions. You can talk to other inventors from all across America. And a big thanks again to our sponsors, Kicker Design, Product Quick Start, and CAD Design with Scott Parsi. So join us next week, and we are going to be doing the best of Invent America. And have a wonderful holiday, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Talk USA with Michael King is produced by Home Talk Media in association with King's Broadcasting Network and Genesis Communications Network. Broadcast and streamed live from the great state of Louisiana. Host and producer, the Cajun contractor, Michael King. Executive producer, Michael Mellinson. Affiliate and sponsor relations, Joe Spera. Comptroller, Sheila Gregoire. Assistant producer, Christian Bethencourt. Board operators provided by Genesis Communications Network. And I'm your announcer, Kevin McCarthy. Music includes King's Creole by Prolific Arts, Cajun Jam by StockMusic.com, and Zydeco City by Steve Rice. Home Talk USA with Michael King is sponsored by Bonide, pest solutions for your home, garden, and lawn. Decorators, take outdoor living beyond ordinary. Aztec Washer, innovative roofing solutions. Seal it right, seal it tight. Trimislab, replace rotten or missing wood with Trimislab expansion joint repair. Masonry Cosmetics, change the color of any porous masonry with proven masonry staining. Green Products Company, #1 in wood preservatives. Preserve, protect, and clean what you value, and most of all, make it last. Bond Products, manufacturers of InstaBind, the world's first do-it-yourself carpet binding solution. Deckrite, life is tough. Make your exterior flooring tougher. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Home Talk USA with Michael King. Until next time, visit us at HomeTalkUSA.com. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com.
Yay!